All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Oh Hell No podcast. Today I have Nick Loper. He is an entrepreneur and the founder of Side Hustle Nation. I love Hustle Nation. I get emails from there, and I just had to have you on my show. So thank you for coming on.
You bet. Appreciate the invite.
Absolutely. So, what was your 9 to 5 before you ventured out into entrepreneurship full time?
The 9 to 5 was slinging car parts. I was a manufacturer's rep for Ford, and I would drive around to all the different dealerships in my territory and try and help them sell more parts through the service department, try and take better care of the customers that they did have. It was I mean, came with a company car. Like it was a decent gig from that standpoint. No 2 days were the same. It was a decent gig from that standpoint,
Hmm.
but had very little desire to climb the corporate ladder there.
Okay. So, how long did you work a 9 to 5 and have a side hustle before you were able to become a full time entrepreneur?
It was 3 years of nights and weekends at the corporate gig for me, and it got to the point where I mean, the timing is never going to be perfect, right? The timing to leave your job is never going to be perfect, and actually, the more money you're making, the harder it is. And so, thankfully, this was not a super high paying like 6 figure job or anything like that. So it made it a little bit easier to walk away. For me, it was trying to see this track record of revenue that I could be reasonably confident that that would continue, and especially given an extra 40, 50 hours a week to dedicate to it, I thought I could get to the point of replacing that salary and beyond.
Okay. So, what was your first side hustle that you were able to leave your job for? And what what were you good at um within that side hustle? Like what did you know was within your wheelhouse, and what were you not good at that you kind of had to like outsource or find help with? So it's like two-part question.
Two-part question. I'll see if I can remember the second part. The
Okay.
business is the easy part. That was a comparison shopping site for footwear. It was called shoesrus.net in its very early days, and it later graduated to be a site called shoesniper.com. It doesn't exist anymore, shut it down 5 or 6 years ago at this point. But it was an affiliate based business, meaning it would earn commission from Zappos, from Amazon, from all these other footwear retailers, and it would pull in the catalogs from all these different stores, tell you where you can find the best price, and we had cool coupon integrations that tell you, oh, there's a discount here, which shuffles the price results, and that was the thing. I kind of thought that was going to be my thing. I'll just be the dude who sells shoes on the internet, and it didn't end up working out that way. But it was enough runway to quit the job, and then once a side hustler, always a side hustler, had a few different other projects to fall back on, including Side Hustle Nation when the time came to shut that down. What was I good at in that business? I think I was good at and excited about kind of the nerdy like data processing, like the daily grind of that stuff and building in the rules and automations. And this is be like super nerdy, but we talked about like data normalization a lot, and this is one area that my site probably did better than broad scale comparison shopping sites, because they're trying to be everything to everyone, so they don't have time to really write these algorithms for every different thing. um, for so-called soft goods like footwear and clothing, there's no uh, there's no standard SKU or model number that makes it really easy to compare, like a digital camera or something. Really easy to build a comparison engine for stuff like that. So we had to do all ours like text based, and crossing out certain common words and different characters. Like it was so that was something that was interesting to me. The other part was running and managing and optimizing the advertising for the site. So heavily, heavily reliant on paid search ads. Like if you were searching for a specific, brand and model of shoe, odds are that we had a text ad running for that at the time. So it was a lot of kind of tedious work to build that out as new inventory was constantly coming in and going out of stock. But managing that and optimizing it, and like, oh, this one has a great return on investment. This one doesn't. What's going on over there? Um, and which brands perform well. All of that was pretty fun to manage.
Wow, so you love that kind of data. So, what were you not good at that you need help with and probably is true today? Like,
Yeah, the programming stuff was the very first thing that got outsourced. It if I was trying to code this whole thing myself, it probably still wouldn't be launched. I I strongly believe that everything is learnable, so there's no doubt in my mind that I eventually probably could have figured it out, but there was a faster path, and that was through hiring a professional developer who already knew how to do this. I actually put it up for bid on a site called guru.com, and there one of the bids came back was this guy who was like just half an hour away from me. I lived in Northern Virginia at the time. So I go over to his apartment and we're like hashing out this deal. And then I think he finally catches on that it's just me. It's just like this 22, 23-year-old dude. He's like, I'm gonna cut you a little bit of a break on the price here. And we were off to the races after that.
nice. So, what are some of the pitfalls of transitioning from a side hustle to full-time, entrepreneurship?
It's a scary move to make. It's the confidence to be able to say, okay, I'm gonna cut my own paycheck now, um, and think of all the other costs and considerations that come in with that. For most people in the states, that means taking care of your own health insurance, trying to figure out the benefits and the tax side of the equation, where it's all almost done for you in a lot of employee relationships. Those are the big things for me. The other thing is just like a lot of people kind of struggle with was this whole time management thing. I remember my first week of self-employment too. It's like, well, it's the middle of the day. Like, uh, you know, I'm free. Should I go for a hike or something? And it's like, no, try to develop the discipline to like, have some set work hours and, not be constantly going to the kitchen. And like, I was out on the road all the time, didn't have the ability to just snack all day. And so a couple different uh, disciplinary habits that had to be established early on.
Yeah, definitely. So, what is the biggest side hustle trend today?
Side hustle trends. Oh my gosh. YouTube is probably near the top of that list. Amazon was at the top of the list for years and years. It seems uh, I don't hear as much about that, but for years, Amazon, through Amazon Associates, through Amazon, private label e-commerce, even product flip like Amazon Retail Arbitrage, merch by Amazon, um, self-publishing on Amazon. Like at one point, he's like, you could have 5 or 6 legitimate, Amazon-based income streams. But I
Yeah.
see a lot of stuff related to YouTube right now, creating content, answering questions, because YouTube has the double advantage of being a search engine, super popular search engine where people are looking for answers. And it also has this like viral element where, if you can start to show up in the sidebar or the recommended videos, you can kind of punch above your weight class or punch above the existing followers that you may have there. Another interesting angle right now is email newsletters, and email has been around for decades at this point, but there's some interesting things happening in the newsletter space. One model that I like in that arena is just playing curator, saying, hey, these are the 3 best articles that I found on whatever topic it is this week, today, whatever it is. You can become part of people's daily routine, which I think is a powerful place to be. And if you're helping cut through the clutter, like that's a really valuable service too.
Hey, that's great, Nick. You're giving me some really good ideas. So, sorry guys, I had a little throat situation right there. What is the most underrated side hustle?
The underrated side hustle. That's a good question. The thing that comes to mind is a local, call it a blue collar type of business. I think there's a huge opportunity in this space where if you think of the services like house cleaning, like we had a woman who was doing pet waste removal, like a pooper scooper business. They've had mobile car detailing. Um, I think there's a big opportunity in that type of space where there's no dominant regional or national player, where it's um, like we had a Brian Scudamore, who's the founder and CEO of 1-800 Got Junk. Like they took
Oh
that a
yeah.
similar like fragmented type of industry with no real like branded option, and became that brand, and they did it through franchising. But like could you do that for a different type of business? And I actually just recorded today with a couple in Dallas who had a cleaning business, and they were doing like 20-25 grand a month in cleaning sales, but had contract cleaners go out and do the work. So they were kind of the marketing front for this, and they put their brand on it, and then connected with professional reliable people to go out and do the work, and just took a percentage on that. And I was like, you could do that in any number of different operations, and just a lot of these businesses kind of operate, you know, whether it's plumbing or closet installation or yard care, they kind of operate, if they have a website, they went kicking and screaming into building it. It's just like, it's not a great user experience for the next generation of customers. It's like, if you can build that front end and connect with people qualified to do the work on the back end, I think that's an interesting place to play in right now.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like it. So, give us some tips for finding side hustles that will work for us. So, like, sometimes people get confused with all of the information that's coming at us constantly online. So, what is the best way to find something that aligns with you?
Something that aligns with you, something, because the last thing you need is a second job that you hate, right? So it's got
Right.
to be something you at least are interested in, that you don't mind doing. And in my example, like the shoe business, I'm not a sneakerhead. Like I probably ordered 3 pairs of shoes over the course of 10 years. Like I was my own worst customer. um, but found other things in the business to be interested in and to be excited about. um, and I think the same things, for the pooper scooper business. It's like I probably am not excited about going into somebody's backyard and picking up their dog's poop, but maybe I am excited about the marketing and the systems and everything behind that. Where I might suggest people start is in, uh, looking at the pains or problems that you see around you. So I have an exercise called What Sucks. And I normally like to be a little more optimistic, but when you're in what sucks mode, I just use like the notes app on my phone, and everything that annoys you over the course of the day, over the course of a week, anything that anybody else complains to you about over the course of the day, over the course of the week, goes down into this what sucks note. And on the other side of that, there might be a business idea. It might be worth exploring a little bit. And then if you have other areas where you've solved a problem in your own life, or like, this is kind of a pain for me, but I figured out a way around it, that's perfect type of stuff to create content around for YouTube. That's perfect type of stuff to maybe poke around and see if anybody else is having that same problem, because there might be a business opportunity there too.
Oh, I love that. I love that what sucks idea because that's really good. What advice would you give to the newbie side hustler? So I just started side hustling. What if you could tell a newbie side hustler one thing, what would you tell them?
One thing I would say, always be experimenting. I read somewhere that at any given time, Amazon is running like 1,000 different tests on their website. And what if we change the color of this button, or what if we put this text here? All these little things, trying to eke out these, maybe like incremental conversion rate gains and speed optimizations and all this stuff. And I think we can apply the same strategy to our life and our business, not at the scale that Amazon is doing, but like, pick one or two things every week, every month to experiment with. Um, maybe that's like, well, what would happen if I started a meditation habit, or what would happen if I, wrote 500 words a day? What would happen if I, proactively reached out to, one potential target customer on LinkedIn or something? And you set up these little experiments and you position them in your mind as experiments. It lessens the sting of the inevitable failures that come along the way, but it also lets you uh, say, just kind of think like a scientist. Like, I want to see what happens if I do this. If I don't like the results, then that's fine. I don't have to do it anymore. But that's definitely been helpful for me in kind of moving the things forward and not getting, I don't know, not getting bogged down and worried about the failures that come.
Yeah, that's great advice. I love that one too. You're full of great ideas, Nick.
Well, thank you.
So, what's your worst side hustle and your best side hustle? And for your worst side hustle, what didn't work? And for your best side hustle, what do you think was the secret sauce?
Worst side hustle. I'm trying to think of which of these failures would make the most sense to bring up. Um, well, I had some success in the footwear space, and so a lot of these advertisers that I was working with also sold like luggage and handbags. And so it seemed like a natural extension to start a, luggage and handbags related site. It was called carrymystuff.com. And, hey, we could use the same database structure. We could use all the same, kind of templates and stuff that we already have, but it still cost 5 grand to develop. And had I done just an ounce more research into this market, I would have realized like the commission rates are lower. The breadth of retailers carrying this stuff is 10 times wider, and it may only be like a tiny fraction of their overall catalog. So we're churning through all this data, trying to pick out the 1% that's relevant to the site. It never took off. That one was kind of an expensive failure that I chalk up to not really doing as much homework as I should have up front. Um, I tried to start a wine related site, which had no business writing about. So like, I don't care about wine. I don't, I'll, I'll drink it, but I don't know anything about it. Um, it was, you know, horrible. It had no reason to exist, right? So that, for any content that you put out into the world, like ask yourself that question, like, why is this here? Who does this serve? Who's this going to benefit? So that one didn't do very well. Sorry, what was the second part of that
And what's
question?
your best? What was your best side hustle? And what made it the best? Like what,
Well, the shoe business has a special place in my heart because that was the vehicle that let me quit my job. I mean, the blog and podcast, Side Hustle Nation, kind of started as a side project to the shoe business. So that was like a totally life changing thing. One of the best that was probably the most time leveraged was another site that I started called Virtual Assistant, which I recently sold. That was very much kind of like this 4-hour work week type of business, operated on a lead gen affiliate model where these companies, would pay a referral fee for new customers to come through. And I had a ton of fun. That was my first experience using WordPress as like a website building platform rather than just a blogging platform. It was my first, Twitter account, some of my first YouTube videos, my first email list. So I definitely have a soft place in my heart for that business too.
wow. Okay. So, do you think Side Hustle Nation is purpose driven work for you? And is being an entrepreneur like your passion? I see also a little bit of technical, like you have like a passion for, technology, different parts of it, but I see that.
Yeah, it's definitely become a purpose-driven project. I don't know if it necessarily started out that way, but it's become over the course of almost 8 years of doing it. Like it's become a huge part of my identity. And there's this community of people. There's people who listened to stuff earlier in the archives, who've taken action on it, and it becomes kind of this self-perpetuating thing, which is really inspiring to have created, to have been a part of. So I definitely align with that. It took me a long time to self-identify as a podcaster rather than just some dude with a podcast, but it's become it's become a thing.
Yeah, podcasting is pretty cool when are sharing some great information. Um, so I want you to share an oh hell no moment that has changed your life or changed your perspective on something. And an oh hell no moment is just a moment of shock or disbelief. It could be a positive moment or a negative moment, but it's usually a moment where you stop and think to yourself, oh hell no. Like, like, is this real?
Is this
So
real? I was driving to a dealership meeting with my boss at my old job, and this is like San Mateo Bridge in California. If anybody's, it's like a 5 mile bridge, like this crazy long bridge. And I remember we're driving across this bridge. I'm newly transferred across the country to his office, and he tells me, Nick, the scouting report on you from Atlanta is that you'll never be an all-star. And I'm like, why are you telling me this? Are you telling me this to like motivate me? Are you trying to like get me to quit? Like what? It just was like, what is going on here? That really solidified the desire to not spend the rest of my career working at this company and to do my own thing.
wow. Yeah, that's definitely, oh, hell no, Chuck, pull over. Oh my God. So please tell us, Nick, where we can subscribe to Side Hustle Nation because he sends out these great emails. I always send these emails to my friends, and because you have so much great content. Tell us where we can subscribe, where we can check out your podcast, and all of the great things that you're doing.
Well, thank you for helping spread the word. I'm trying to actually do some sort of like referral program where you get some swag for doing that. So stay tuned
Nice.
for that. But sidehustlenation.com is the home base there. If you hit sidehustlenation.com/join, you'll be able to join the newsletter that you're talking about. And of course, would love to have you tune in to the Side Hustle Show, which is new business ideas and part-time money making projects every week.
Nice. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you.
All right.